Canucks are officially entering a new era. But the incoming GM is walking straight into a house on fire between a fractured locker room, the $11.6 million question mark surrounding Elias Pettersson, and a franchise-altering third overall pick. There is zero room for error. The search is down to the final two candidates, and whoever wins the job has four massive fires to put out immediately. Let's break down the four questions that will define the start of the new GM's tenure, as well as the future of this rebuild. So let's dive right into it. We're going to look at an article that talks about this, and it is a absolutely fascinating article written by Jordan Frew, who is new to Canucks Army. She, of course, was one of the Blatchford Project recipients. So let's dive right into it. The Vancouver Canucks search for a general manager appears down to the final two, Evan Gould and Ryan Johnson. It's no secret that once the decision is made, the new hire will have a tall mountain to climb ahead of them. They're joining an organization that had one of their worst seasons to date, struggling with underperforming players and picking up the pieces of a fractured locker room. While there are lots of things the new GM will have to sort through, there are four questions he will want to answer right away. The first question: is Elias Pettersson open to a change of scenery? Elias Pettersson's future with the Canucks has been up in the air for a while, and it's time to make some decisions regarding it. Whether that be a trade or another season to try to bounce back is up to the new GM as well as Pettersson himself. Since signing his 8-year, $11.6 million contract, the Star Forward's offense has completely dried up. He has shown bright sides, such as over the past season, proving he can be a two-way forward, but at the end of the day, that's not what the Canucks are paying him to do. You can give him some leniency, as during the first 2 years of his new contract, there, of course, have been multiple cases of the Canucks having a toxic locker room, one of which directly involved him and former teammate JT Miller. A driving factor for this rift was rumored to be Pettersson's lack of effort, particularly during the offseason. This, of course, is something the organization has had to harp on him on multiple occasions, even with Jim Rutherford going so far as to do it once again at the Canucks' end-of-season press conference. But, of course, Rutherford showed that he believes in Pettersson and that he believes that he can actually do it. The Swede has shown the powerhouse forward that he can be previously, and while there have been glimpses of it during the season, it just has not been consistent for some time now. Whoever the new GM is, he needs to have an open and honest conversation around Pettersson's future in the organization and whether he can put in the work to return to his former self, or they need to have a conversation about Pettersson waiving his no movement clause and finding him a change of scenery. Of course, we all heard what Pettersson said at the year-end presser. He wants to be here. He likes it here. And basically, the GM's job is going to be to either, like what this article outlines, have a conversation with Pettersson and figure out what is best for both the player as well as the team. Now, let me know in the comments, do you think this should be the first course of action by the new general manager, or should this be something he should tackle after the draft? Let me know in the comment section down below. Next up, we have, am I allowed to trade Filip Hronek? Trading Filip Hronek could be a route for the new GM to explore to acquire assets at the beginning of this rebuild. It would also open up more ice time and special teams play for defensemen next season, which of course will help the Canucks learn who of their young players can actually lead the team. After the Canucks traded Quinn Hughes, they relied heavily on Hronek to fill his spot. The 28-year-old did the best that he could, and in doing so, also increased his trade value. Given that this offseason's free agent class is relatively weak and teams may explore trades rather than signings, moving Hronek may be a smart move to at least consider to bring in other players and picks that gear the Canucks towards the future. We've had discussions about that when it comes to the second overall pick and trying to land Ivar Stenberg. With the Canucks having an up-and-coming defense core, it was, of course, critical that they receive a strong guiding hand from veteran defensemen like Filip Hronek and Tyler Myers, Rookies like Tom Willander, Zeke Buium, and Elias Pettersson, DPD, have now spent a season with the veterans, and the Canucks have started the transition to give young talent the lead in the organization. Even though Myers was, of course, dealt at the trade deadline and Hronek's value is at an all-time high, potentially leading to his exit from the organization, young defensemen will still have a veteran presence in Marcus Pettersson. Of course, I've also dangled the fact that perhaps, depending on who the Canucks end up drafting, like, for example, if they were to draft a left-handed defenseman, they would most likely have to move out Marcus Pettersson as opposed to Filip Hronek. Additionally, the Canucks have the option to test the offseason market and find a defenseman to replace the leadership they would miss if they would move on from Hronek. Of course, the new GM needs to ask themselves whether Hronek is actually expendable, and if so, do so delicately, as the Czech, of course, has a no-movement clause through the 27-28 season. He can't afford to run into a similar situation, that of the New Jersey Devils, with Dougie Hamilton. Regardless, the new GM will have to determine whether Hronek is worth more to the team than the possible futures he would return in a trade. Next up, we have what made the Canucks' locker room so bad pre-deadline, and are the issues actually fixed in the locker room? Despite Garland being gone, Miller being gone, and I guess to an extent, Evander Kane essentially being gone now. As time goes on, more and more keeps coming out about how bad the state of the Canucks' locker room truly was. We've heard words like toxic and whatnot, and how it was kind of like broken and just didn't mesh. During the 24-25 season, it was, of course, as we all know, the Miller-Pettersson rift. This year, it appears there was still toxicity, even though JT Miller had been traded almost a year prior. There was still toxicity in the locker room. And of course, that brings us to Connor Garland. There was that talk about, Garland was toxic in the locker room, behind the scenes, not, in front of the cameras. Some would say he was a bit of a bully. He would pick on the young guys, which completely surprised me when all that stuff came out. But during his end of season press conference, Rutherford, of course, said that since the trade deadline, so since they traded Garland and to an extent Myers, although I don't believe Myers was part of that toxicity when it comes to the locker room, because everyone knows Tyler Myers was such a good character guy and he was looked at as a locker room leader. But since the trade deadline, and this is from Rutherford himself, basically saying the locker room has never been better, showing the Canucks culture is, of course, back on the right path. However, locker room troubles have not been a one-off issue for this team. We've been hearing this for years, like dating back to when Horvat was still here with the Canucks. Over the past couple of seasons, there have been multiple players who have created bad vibes, i.e. Connor Garland, JT Miller. The new GM needs to do a deep dive into the current Canucks culture and make sure he understands what caused not just one, but all of the issues within the Canucks team. And if there even is any still lingering, obviously the Canucks kind of addressed the main ones, with trading Miller and trading Garland. And then you hear Rutherford say it's been the best it's been, since the trade deadline and since he has been with the organization. So maybe they have fixed the issues. And I guess, having a guy like Evander Kane probably doesn't help. Maybe that was the last issue. I don't know. I'm not there in the locker room, so I cannot speak to that. But doing so will allow the organization to lay a strong foundation to build off of and truly move past those issues, ensuring that the mistakes of the past will not be repeated. Now, this one, in my opinion, let me know what you guys think in the comments, is I think the first order of business for whoever ends up being the new general manager, whether it's Evan Gold or Ryan Johnson. Who do I draft with the third overall pick? The upcoming draft is, of course, a critical step in the building of the Canucks' prospect pool, and it all lies in the hands of the future GM. Right now, the talk is about center Caleb Mahocha, but you never know what opportunities may arise on the draft floor. Something we've been talking about on this channel when it comes to Ivar Stenberg and whether or not the Canucks should trade up or trade down, or if Stenberg falls in your lap at 3rd overall, you might have to go with Stenberg. And there's also that other notion, should the Canucks consider trading down? Personally, I don't like the idea of trading down, just because I like the idea of either keeping that 3rd overall pick or at least trading up. I do not like the idea of dropping out of the top 3. And that's just a personal thing. I just don't like it. These are all questions the Canucks face, of course, during the draft. Whoever the new GM will be will have to go through each scenario and consult with his scouting department, which could very well be a completely new scouting department. As, of course, everyone knows, the current scouting staff, all their contracts are up. So, and the Canucks might actually want to just start fresh and want to bring in their own scouting. Whoever ends up being named GM might want to bring in their own staff. That even includes like assistant GMs and whatnot. So it could be a whole overhaul. So right now, the consensus is Canucks would pick Caleb Malhotra. That could very well change come draft day or even over the next few weeks or when the new GM is named. Now, when whoever the new GM will have to go through each scenario and consult with the scouting department to figure out where the organization stands when it's time to make the critical pick. These are just 4 of the, of course, countless questions that the new GM will have to consider once he takes control. And they've also said that the general manager will have full control over the scouting and the decision-making. So that was revealed by Jim Rutherford, I believe. The new GM will have full control. Some of which he'll have already probably thought through, and they were probably asked in the interviews that they had with them. They were probably asked, what would you do with the 3rd overall pick? What would you do about Elias Pettersson? What would you do when it comes to the locker room and the culture? They were probably asked these in their interview, and that's probably why we're down to 2 finalists, because both Rutherford and Aquilini probably liked what they had to say. And some he will want to address, of course, right away. These won't be easy tasks for a first-time NHL GM. Because remember, Evan Gould and Ryan Johnson have never been a NHL GM before. They've been assistant general managers. They've been general managers of an AHL team. But both of these candidates are going to be first-time NHL GMs. And, of course, they will be mentored by Jim Rutherford because he is staying on as an advisor or as an alternate governor. But they are, of course, ones he will need to get right at such a pivotal time in the Canucks' rebuild. So, that being said, what do you guys think? Let me know what you guys think about in the comments below. If you had to rank each of these 4 questions, which order would you put them in? Would you have the draft be up first, or would you have the Pettersson question be at the forefront? Let me know in the comment section down below. Where would you put each of these questions and how would you rank them on what the new GM needs to tackle first? Once again, let me know in the comments, and a big shout out and thank you, of course, as always, to the sponsor of this video, none other than, of course, DraftKings Sportsbook, which is an official sports betting partner of the NHL. The Stanley Cup playoffs are here, and DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NHL, has a new customer offer. Bet player props, bet live from the opening faceoff to the final horn, where every moment matters. New DraftKings customers bet just $5 and you get $100 in bonus bets instantly. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app and use code THPN so you're ready for the moment. Once again, that is code THPN. Turn $5 into $100 in bonus bets instantly in partnership with DraftKings. The crown is yours.
Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or 1-800-MY-RESET. New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY. Connecticut, call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. On behalf of Boot Hill Casino in Kansas, wager tax pass-through may apply in Illinois. 21 and over in most states. Void in Ontario. Restrictions apply. Bet must win to receive bonus bets which expire in 7 days. Minimum odds required. For additional terms and responsible gaming resources, see sportsbook.draftkings.com/promos. Limited time offer.
Thank you guys for watching. if you guys enjoyed this video, on your way out, you can like the video and you can subscribe to the Line Change for more Canucks related content as well as draft content. You can also become a member to receive exclusive perks like members only videos as well as instant access to videos such as like this one. Once again, thanks for watching and I'll catch you guys in the next video.